There we go. All right.
Welcome, 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 everybody. Come on in. Come on in. I'm going to give everybody a couple minutes before we go ahead and get started. I'm excited to be a part of this. I'm glad I'm here today. Why don't you let me know that you are here in the chat? I see that James dropped a welcome in there, but I want to see who else is in there, who else is out there in virtual world. So excited to be a part of this, Blacks in Cybersecurity. All right, so I got a couple in there, a couple more in there. Come on, come on. Let's see what we got. Let's see what we got. Yes, if you have some questions for me, please drop them. I'm going to attempt to do something here. But I want to make sure that we got some more folks in here. Looks like we got 8 people. All right, come on. Well, in here, I know there's probably some people over on YouTube as well and on LinkedIn. So gonna give another 60 seconds and then I will get started. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over. I'm going to share my screen up here now. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to I think I can actually let's see. Now I think that I will be good. Let's see. Now I think I can do it. Okay, cool. This is a different format for me. And dang, now I don't even think that I can see. All right, it's all good. It's all good here. So let's go ahead and get started. As you can see, my name is Robert McNair, and I am going to be talking to you about defending your organization from cyber threats, okay? The name of this would be, say, Defense in Depth, and there's a reason for that. But first of all, I want to go ahead and begin with an introduction. My name is Robert McNair. You can see my information there. I'm a Microsoft technical trainer. Been with Microsoft for probably a couple of years now. Been in the IT industry for a minute. And what we can say is a few things about me is, first of all, I'm located in Atlanta, Georgia, okay? We don't call it Hotlanta, so if you're outside of the city and you want to say we're from Hotlanta, we look at you like you're crazy because we don't call it that, right? I developed an app with about over 100,000 downloads in 6 months in 2012, okay? And that was a great time. That's where I really got my feet wet as far as like development is concerned. Also, I have 8 legacy certs, and those 8 legacy certs go back to Microsoft 2003. I'm also a big lover of music. You name the genre, I listen to it internationally as well. And I get a couple questions all the time. The first question I get is that, am I related to Ronald McNair, the astronaut? And the answer to that is no, I'm actually not. Or I could say this, it is a distant relative type thing. Y'all know how we do 3rd, 4th, 5th cousin type thing. So I don't really claim, right? But the next question I normally get is, am I related to Steve McNair, the MVP quarterback? And the answer to that is yes. That was my cousin on my dad's side, my second cousin, right? Had some great years in in the NFL at Alcorn State and all those different things. If you want to connect with me, you can connect with me on LinkedIn, as you can see right there at the bottom. And you can go to my website, robtalks.cloud as well, if you want to be able to connect with me, okay? Now, next thing is, what else is about me, okay? So here's a couple things as well. My dad is right up there that you see, and that's me, and then that is my son right there. Now, my dad has been in IT, that guy right there has been in IT since I was born, right? He's been in it in the 60s, and then that's me, and then we're looking at pass that on to my son, okay? However, my dad actually worked on this technology right here. What is this? This is what we know of as the barcode, right? My dad worked on it in the late 60s. He's a hidden figure of some sort, okay? So that makes me a second generation IT professional, okay? With my dad working on that, I actually had my dad working at home in the 80s, okay? I was born in 1980. He was working at home. He actually had a terminal, right, that was connected to a satellite where he could actually do his work. And so, you know, the barcode was pre my time. However, one of the things that I am familiar with is when I was younger, he was actually one of the first people to combine the long distance, right, and the hold on, this thing keeps moving on without my permission here. The long distance and the local phone bill. Y'all remember when it used to be separate, right? And then now things were together. Well, now they don't even talk about, you know, long distance and local. It's all the same thing. But he was on the team that actually merged those two phone bills together, okay? So that's a little bit about me. And obviously, like I said, we hope to pass that on to my son. My daughter's in gymnastics. She may take it on, who knows? But as of right now, we're just going to let her be. Now, what I need you to do is this. You see this castle right here, okay? What I need you to do is I need you to get in your mind 1500s, okay? Get in your mind, I'm sorry, my camera is just not working. This is crazy. Okay, let me try to turn that off. Excuse me, folks, real quick. Some technical challenges, and I hate when this happens in the middle of. I'm just going to try to do it this way. All right. So don't forget about my mug. Sit down there. That is frozen. Anyhow, so take off your thinking caps. So we're in 2023, and I need you to think back to like 1500s, right? Think back to you know, Sparta and those types of things. And here's what I need you to do. Look at this castle. Okay. Now, years ago, when my daughter was born, me and my wife got obsessed with watching the show called The Amazing Race. And what The Amazing Race is about couples racing all around the world, trying to win $1 million, right? But during different episodes of The Amazing Race, they would have certain parts where they would see castles, okay? And so they would visit different castles and they, you know, do all these things in the castles. However, I took a love and appreciation for castles, right? But not only taking a love and appreciation for that, I really started to dig into why they actually built these castles, okay? So this is based off of what? Security. So let's take a look at this castle really quick. Let's take a look at some things. There's some things that we can see there that would be some challenges. So say we have 10,000 soldiers that need to infiltrate this castle. We're going to run into some issues with 10,000 people. Number one, we got a couple of moats there, right? There's some water that needs to be traversed. There could be some alligators and some snakes and those types of things, right? It even could be some water where we can get some kind of like poisoning if the water kind of gets in our mouth, right? So that's going to take out some of the soldiers. Then after that, we're going to actually come to that first wall. And with this first wall, there might be some people that are up here on these bastions that are shooting down arrows. Come on, y'all know what I'm talking about. They're shooting down arrows with flames and all these different types of things, right? So that's going to take some people out as well. So we're going to try to scale this wall. We're going to try to force through the door. We can't really go through the door because it's really narrow, right? That's another security feature, all right? Then once we traverse that wall, it looks like we got another moat to come to, okay? And this moat is actually encapsulating the castle, okay? So we got all this going on, and what we're trying to get to, though, is that we're trying to get to the gold, right? We're trying to get to the gold. We're trying to get to the king or the queen where they lay their head. That is where we need to get, right? But we could start with 10,000 soldiers, right? But by the time we get to the gold, it might only be a couple hundred, or it might only be 2, right? This is the concept that Microsoft actually took when introducing something called the defense in depth model, okay? The defense in depth model does a couple things, okay? It has several layers. So we have a physical layer, we have an identity layer, we have a perimeter layer, we have a network layer, we have a compute layer, and then we have a data layer. The data is the gold, okay? That's where everybody's trying to get to. So what I'm going to do and what I'm going to share with you today is how you can actually defend your organization or set up your organization to be defended, okay? Before we're talking about SOC analysts, before we're talking about anything like that, we have security engineers that can help, that can build out this infrastructure that can help protect your environment. Because I will say this, and I'll say this, and I say this every single class that I teach, right? I'm a trainer with Microsoft. I teach cybersecurity architecture class. I teach security engineering class. I teach AZ 400, which is the DevOps class, right? I teach our AZ 104. I teach several classes and SC 300. I say in every single class, okay? You need to know and you need to be aware to put security first and weave it into everything you do. You don't need to wait at the back end to try to implement some security measures. Once you've done that, it is way too late. Yeah, you can get some things secured, but it's not going to be anything that is going to be crucial to really help you in your environment, okay? So the first layer that we are going to discuss is the physical layer. Now, the physical layer is going to be for Microsoft, right? The actual cloud per se. Now, there's really not a set of clouds where we have servers, and obviously you all know that. I talk to some people all the time. They say, well, where is the cloud? Is it up in the sky? No, it's not in the sky. It's just a data center that just has a whole bunch of computers that is off limits to everybody, right? That we are connected to. And this could be Microsoft, this could be AWS, this could be GCP, this could be Oracle, right? It could be a number of cloud providers, right? But what you need to do, obviously, is you need to get your environment here, okay? Your environment needs to be in the cloud. Microsoft has the most data centers in the world. We are structured for redundancy, and we are highly secure, meaning that you can't just walk in there with your thumb drive talking about, hey, bro, let me get in here and let me get some files off of my machine. Absolutely not. That ain't finna go down, okay? So this is a structure or a data center that we're even testing out. We're actually dropping data centers in the ocean, and we're doing some tests, right? Because cooling is also something that is very important in keeping our data and our service and all that cool. So we're even talking about dropping data centers in the water to keep all of that going, okay? So again, you need to think, okay, is my stuff gonna be secure in the cloud? Physically, yes. Because like I said, you can't just walk up in there, okay? Now, what I'm gonna show you is, I've actually got, come on up. There we go. So this is actually a site, and I'll actually drop this in at the very end, okay? But this is actually a site called We Live in the Cloud, and it talks about the data centers, right? I'm not gonna go through all of this, but we got rows and rows of server racks, right? These are actually protected, okay? We have, we're going green. We're trying to be green by 2035, I believe. We have operation centers where we actually monitor all of the data centers or all of the regions all over the world, right? And so if you're not in the cloud, right, this is the first step. Now, you might hear a lot of people say, well, I'm not going to go to the cloud. They say that there are people that are coming back to on-prem. I will tell you this. Some of you might be hybrid, and that's cool. Some on-prem, some cloud. But I will say this about that. If you as an organization can lift and shift to the cloud, right, and then lift and shift back to on-prem, you have not implemented your cloud technology correctly. There is no way you can easily lift and shift back to on-prem if you've implemented the correct controls and the correct layers when it comes to implementing your cloud adoption. Okay, so that's one thing that I do want to say, because a lot of people try to talk to me about that. But anyway, let me go ahead and move forward. Okay, one thing that it starts with is something called zero trust. Zero trust is something that basically says never trust, but always verify. So what does that mean? That means that you have a bunch of employees that are connected to your organization, right? And they're logging in from anywhere. They're logging in from Starbucks. They're logging in from home. They're in the airport. They're about to go somewhere, right? They're not just in your four walls of your organization, right? Well, this presents a problem because who's to say that you are who you are? Okay. The only name that I see up here, so I'm going to use you. I'm going to pick on you, Enoch. So Enoch, just because Enoch is trying to log in, that does not actually mean that it's Enoch that is actually logging in. Okay. This means that we're not trusting everybody. Yeah, we love you. You're amazing. Enoch, you're amazing, right? You're an amazing dude. Rob, you're an amazing dude, but guess what? We're going to verify you are who you say you are. This is why we get some checks sometimes when we're out and about and we're moving and we have to kind of re-log in. We got to do things like MFA. Why do we have to do that? Because we're not trusting that it is you that is actually logging in. Your information could have been compromised. Okay, so what we have here is we have a concept of zero trust. Three different things that I want to talk about here. Number one, verify explicitly. Okay, we need to verify that you are who you say you are by something like MFA or something like that, right? Multi-factor authentication. I'm going to talk about that in a second. Number one, we need to use least privilege. No way, no how on this earth does everybody need to have the highest level of permissions possible, whether it's global admin, whether it's owner or anything like that. I've worked at companies where they have given every single employee from the call center all the way up to the CEO global administrator access, right? So this means the person that you have hired on day one coming in this call center could have access to everything within your organization. If you are an organization that takes credit cards, they now have access to all 10,000 of your clients in their credit cards and their addresses and all these different things, right? So again, you have somebody that's walking into Starbucks, they're setting their computer down and they're going to get them their favorite latte, right? As they're going to get them their favorite latte, maybe they have been followed. I know that this might be an extreme, but these things actually do happen. Maybe they might be followed, or maybe there's someone that's trying to, because this is a public network, someone that actually is able to access their system. Because now Rob is his first day on the job. Okay, I just got onboarded. I'm getting my latte and I'm getting ready to go. I'm in line. They spelled my name wrong. You know how they do at Starbucks. They spell your name wrong. Then, all these different things. You go back and forth, blah, 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 right? Well, while that's happening, somebody is actually potentially getting my login information. And now once they have access to every single thing in the organization. It has happened. I've been a part of organizations and we've seen it happen before any of this stuff ever came out about zero trust, okay? We used to assume that if somebody connected or somebody was in the four walls of the organization, that was them, but that's not it, right? So then you also have to assume breach as well. A lot of people say, oh yeah, I don't think that people are going to access my company, or people are going to try to hack me. Yes, they are. As a matter of fact, they probably already have. You just don't know it yet. And that's the thing. It's not a matter of if, it's not a matter of when, it's a matter of what time did they do it. That's what it is. Because there's somebody out there, they say within 1 minute of you connecting to the internet, there's someone trying to access your information. 1 minute. So by the time you set your computer down and go and get your latte and come back, you probably had 5 or 10 people trying to access your computer. All right. So I use this picture right here with these guys. They're all linked up. These gentlemen and these ladies, they're all linked up. What is this concept of zero trust? It means that we are holding on to each other. We're making sure that there's no weaknesses, right? What did they do before they jumped out of this plane? Before they even got on the plane, they were checking their equipment, right? They were checking their equipment themselves. They weren't just say, hey, bro, can you check my backpack real quick? No, they checked their equipment themselves, right? And these are the things that you need to do as an organization. You need to get in. You need to make sure you have the proper permission set up. These are plans that you need to do. If you have an organization right now and you have no idea who has what permissions, you need to do some access reviews, and you need to do that Monday when you get back to work. All right? Because the moment that you start giving other people access to things that they should not have, either they could go rogue and go buck wild and go ahead and start taking information, or start deleting information, or their information could be accessed. So that is layer 1, okay? Now, layer 2, identity and access, right? You don't see it up there because, you know, you got my my stuff up there. Identity and access. Now, what is MFA? Multi-factor authentication. Multi-factor authentication is when you go into the bank or excuse me, you try to log into your bank app, and they said they're going to send the code to your phone via text or via application, and you got to give the code and you got to log in. Everybody hates MFA, right? But MFA is what saves 99% of organizations from being infiltrated. Now, it's not a silver bullet. You still got the 1% that's out there, but most organizations succeed at protecting the identity, okay? And that's what we need to do, is protect the identity. So how do we implement MFA? Something you know, something you have, or something that you are, right? Obviously, the password is something that you know. Okay, got it, right? Next, something I have. I have my mobile phone. With my mobile phone, I'm going to get a code, or I might get some facial identity or something like that. And so I can be able to log in. If I use some passwordless technology, I don't even need to touch my computer before I'm logged into my computer because of my biometrics, right? Biometrics is key. There's people, if they go through this extenuating circumstance of wanting to copy your face to log into something, you've got bigger issues, okay? Because what was it, Minority Report, where they got the guy's eyeball and they use it as a scan? If somebody after your eyeball, folks, you got bigger problems, okay? You might just need to go ahead and, you know, figure that out with the feds and all this stuff, make sure that you're protected, all right? So again, something you know, something you have, something that you are, right? Now, we talked about where somebody was talking about earlier about Colonial Pipeline. Let me show this. So Colonial Pipeline was something that happened back in May 2021. I was sitting down watching TV and I saw something across the bottom of the screen. The ticker said that the Colonial Pipeline has shut down, right? And I knew it was connected to gas. And I was like, hey, you know, I told my wife, I said, we got one EV, we got 2 gas cars. I said, hey, I'm going to take these gas cars, I'm going to fill them up because we don't know what's about to pop off, right? About 3 days later, that's when it hit the fan. If you know what I'm talking about, if you're on the East Coast, from Texas to Virginia, okay, 2,200 square miles, it was pandemonium. And even if you were on the West Coast, or even if those of you that are a part of, you know, that are in different countries, listen to me clearly. When I say it was pandemonium, people were lining up for miles trying to get gas. They bought all these gas tanks. They thought the world was coming in. They were filling up 5 and 6 gas tanks that were fighting at the gas pump, just trying to be able to get gas, right? All in the middle of COVID. It was bananas. 2020 and 2021 was unreal, right? So What ended up happening, though, is that hackers had actually breached this pipeline utilizing a compromised password. Password. Username and password. Remember when I was just talking about it just a little while ago, saying that you need MFA, or saying that everybody doesn't need all of the access? Okay, so I had somebody I was talking to that I was actually part of an organization that was connected to this pipeline. He said it was a USB, right? These things right here, these USBs here, these could bring down your entire organization, okay? So you got USB that plugged in somehow or another. They clicked on something, their username and their password was compromised. MFA was not turned on. And because MFA was not turned on, they were able to shut down this pipeline for 2 weeks, had to pay a $5 million ransom, right? I think they got $3 million of it back. But the oil company, or the oil rig that was connected to it, from what I understand, the guy was telling me they were losing $2 billion a day because this pipeline was shut down, okay? Your passwords aren't enough, okay? You need more. There's actually a list called the RockU 2021 list. This RockU 2021 list has over 8 billion passwords on it, okay? Now, 4 billion people have access to computers. 8 billion passwords are in this list. Chances are, if your password is, I don't know, password 123, password 123 exclamation mark, and then the next month, password 123 question mark, your password is in that list, okay? I know my passwords probably may have been in that list, right? Everybody's favorite password is the word password, right? So let's take a look at what this news article said. I just had it up here. But what this news article says is what? The VPN account, which everybody's like, oh, it's VPN, everything's great and secure. No. Still turn on MFA, which has since been deactivated, didn't use multi-factor authentication. That's MFA, a basic cybersecurity tool allowing the hackers to breach Colonial's network using just a compromised username and password. This is why you need to protect your organization now. Protect it at the identity. You know what the biggest problem of identity is? Everybody has one. Everybody has an identity. If you need access to something, it can be a machine, it still has an identity, right? So if we protect the identity first, this is going to prevent majority of the folks from getting to the other layers. Remember when I was talking about that castle, right? I was talking about that castle, and we got the water and the alligators, and all those people are going to start being taken out, right? This is the first layer. So protect the identity. Next thing you want to do is you want to protect your perimeter, right? You want to protect the traffic, or control the traffic coming to your environment. If someone wants to do something malicious to your environment, it's not always trying to get access. Sometimes it's trying to prevent access. Who prevent people from getting to your website, right? So this is yourwebsite.com, right? This is a hater. This is someone that don't like you and your organization for whatever reason, okay? Now, what they do is that they get access to these items that we see here. You got IP cameras, you got laptops, you got mobile devices, you got other IP devices as well. See, here's the thing. Some of us, we love the IoT, right? Internet of Things. We want to put our microwave online. We want to put our coffee makers online. We want to put our refrigerators online. We got Ring devices. All of those different things are online. Well, some of these things are poorly secured, especially if we want to just jump on Amazon and get the cheapest one. The security patches are old. Your devices are vulnerable, right? Well, me as a hacker, I know that this particular company has a security patch that they're not updating, and they haven't updated it for like 6 months. So I'm going to figure out who all purchased these devices, and I'm going to use these devices because there's somebody on the other side of town that is making me lose some money, or I don't like what they said or whatever, right? Or I'm just going to do this for fun. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take control of the cameras, the laptops, the mobile devices, the other devices, and I'm not going to do anything on them. I'm just going to direct traffic to your website. If I send so much traffic to your website is going to come down. If your website is your means of making money, if your website is the e-commerce tool where you're literally, that's how you're making all of your money, that's how you're getting connection, or maybe there's some, maybe you have some video or something that's going out, people are streaming. Guess what? When you have a DDoS attack, what ends up happening is that all this traffic hits your website and is down, and nobody can get access, not even you, right? So what we have at Microsoft, we have DDoS protection. So where we use the entire global footprint of Azure, right? All the data centers, all the regions, all these different things. We got a bunch of different endpoints out there, and we're able to mitigate that traffic and be able to examine that traffic and see if this is legitimate traffic or not. So I think it was like about 6 months or 8 months ago, Microsoft actually stopped the largest DDoS event ever, and I think it was something like 300 or 400. It was a lot of terabytes, which is unheard of, right? And so we want to make sure that we have our DDoS protection, and of course, Azure can help mitigate that, right? So we can send traffic elsewhere and be able to examine traffic, and so you will not be affected by that, right? So you want that as well, okay? The next layer that you're going into is being able to control once someone may even get into your organization. We need to make sure that there's no lateral movement going on, right? Because what happens is bad actors or hackers or whatever you want to deem them, when they get access to your organization and they all have global administrator access or owner access, they like to laterally move different servers, right? They're trying to find the data, they're covering up their tracks, they're doing all these different things. So we need to control our environment within our environment as well. So we need to have network protection established, okay? Now, this network protection works as follows. We have a virtual network there. And what we see here, these things are called NSGs, right? Network security groups, right? So I got a subnet here. In my subnet, I got 3 virtual machines, right? In subnet A, I got 3 virtual machines and subnet B, all right? They are protected by these NSGs. What I like to say when I'm teaching is that these NSGs are like bouncers, okay? So basically, what you have is, say you have this virtual machine in subnet A wants to get out and basically wants to talk to a virtual machine in subnet B, all right? So it checks the list of possible areas in the NSG that is going to allow this traffic to leave. If this virtual machine is not on this list, it cannot get out of this subnet, okay? If it is, it says, okay, where are you going? Okay, you're going to subnet B, you're going to the virtual machine 1, okay, I got you, right? So now it's gonna let that traffic flow. Now, subnet B, they have a bouncer and they're like, oh, wait, hold up. Who are you trying to get to? Where are you trying to get, right? Oh, okay, so let me see if you're on the VIP list. Because if you're not on the VIP list, you can't get in, right? And so if you are on the VIP list, cool, we'll let you get access to this virtual machine in subnet B. Now, what is going on here? This is preventing lateral movement, because if we have our list calculated correctly, if we have an unfamiliar virtual machine trying to get to an unfamiliar virtual machine in a different subnet, that could be someone trying to do a lateral movement, trying to get to the data. So if they're not on the list, they can't get in, right? Couple things about this. If there's a rule to allow outbound traffic, then the return traffic is allowed. Sorry about that green, because the green is, I I didn't see that, but basically saying this traffic is automatically allowed. And then it can also be applied to at NIC level as well. So you can actually apply these lists at the subnet NSG, or you can put the NSG on the NIC, which is the network interface card, on each individual machine to even get more granular with your protection. All right. So layer 4, we got 3 more layers to go. All right. Next is layer 5, right? Again, you saw I had a USB earlier. USB, don't do this. Like, you need to be able to control what's being plugged into your machine, all right? You need to be able to try to control these phishing websites that people get to, or these emails that, you know, you got to be able to try to figure that out, right? Protect that. But oftentimes you can't, right? But number one is, if you find a random USB, don't plug it into your machine, and caution your folks in your organization. Do not plug in a USB in your computer, period. We saw what happened with Colonial Pipeline. It can happen to you too, right? You need to install anti-malware to help identify and remove viruses and spyware and other malicious software as well. Microsoft has the anti-malware protection that we can actually implement as well, because we have to make sure if you have a device and you're accessing my organization, you need to have endpoint protection, right? I understand it's your cell phone, right? I understand it's your cell phone and this is all your personal information, but if you want to access my environment with your cell phone, I need to put endpoint protection on it. And if you lose your cell phone, I need to remove and erase your entire cell phone. So people want to say, I don't get it, blah, 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 blah. If your cell phone is lost, it is your responsibility to report that to your organization that it's lost, and it is their responsibility to wipe your device. In other words, get a work cell phone, get a work tablet, get a work computer. If they're not letting you get one, you got to figure that out, right? But at the end of the day, once you allow your organization to get access to your device, your cell phone or your tablet or whatever, if you lose that for any reason, they have 100% responsibility to delete that, right? Because it could get into the wrong hands. We don't know how good your security is on your phone. Your code could be your birth date to get into your cell phone, your kid's birthday. Y'all know how we do. You know, it's something that is easy that we can remember. We never change the code on our cell phones, right? So make sure that you're doing that, okay? So next, layer 6. If you're building applications, you should be able to have some type of way to secure your application information, right? That have your database strings, your different passwords and things of that nature. So what you need to be able to do is using something like Azure Key Vault, or there are other password managers out there where you can store your keys, your certificates, your secrets, right? You need to be able to give access to only a certain amount of people can have access to creating those keys, to distributing those keys, even be able to revoke these keys as well, okay? Do not use that good old web.config file to put any passwords in your application, because once someone gets access to your web.config file and they see that database string and they see that SQL username and password, you are done for. Okay, the data is what? The gold. All right. So one more thing here. Layer 7. This is the last layer. Layer 7, data masking. This is the gold. Okay. So there's some things that you can put in place. You can be able to encrypt your data at rest, right? You can encrypt your data in transit. You can put classifications on your data. Meaning if you put classifications on your data, not everybody's going to get access to it. It could be public information. It could be all the way down to highly confidential. When you start putting those labels, not everybody's going to be able to get access to it, right? We can set up controls where we can't do send information over Teams or over Slack or over email. We can't do mass downloads. We can do all of that, right? And even when it comes to like our specific data, social security numbers, addresses, credit card numbers, we can do some masking, right? To where everybody's not going to be able to see that. And remember, call center folks, the people that normally started call centers, normally they're younger and they're really kind of getting their footing out in the world, right? And there's also an opportunity for a high amount of crime to take place because you got a credit card, you got a person's information, they got $100,000 credit limit. You can't tell me that these folks are not going to copy down all these folks in a black book or something and go ahead and try to go ahead and get something, right? Go ahead and get a Louis bag or go ahead and buy a car, or this is where a lot of this stuff actually originates, okay? So you got to protect the gold, okay? These are some examples of people who have tried and they continue to try. This is nothing against them in their organizations, but this stuff is public knowledge, right? We see MyFitnessPal in 2018 lost 150 million records. Canva 2019, we're doing all the graphics and stuff, 137 million records. Anthem Healthcare 78.8 million records. Home Depot 56 million credit card numbers, okay? MGM Grand 2020. Looked like there's a lot of people that was hanging out in the MGM Grand because you got 10 million records that were accessed at the MGM Grand, okay? Y'all know what we do at the MGM Grand. We go into Las Vegas and we going to gamble, right? So what else? Cash App, 8 million records. Equifax, 148 million records. Y'all remember Equifax because everybody got the email from Equifax saying, we're going to give you like $100 or $150, or we're going to give you credit monitoring for a year, right? Yahoo, 2017, 3 billion records. Marriott Hotels, 2018, 500 million records. Now, I'm going to say this. It's not everything associated with credit cards. With some of these, it's just, email and maybe phone numbers. But at the end of the day, we need to do whatever we need to do to keep our information safe. My next question to you is, are you next? Right? You don't want to be in the news. You don't want to be any of these companies. There's a lot of other companies. They said that the word password was found as a password, right? The word password as a password was found in 29.5 million breaches in 2019. People in your organization use password as their password. The CEO uses password as their password, okay? This is important, folks. Protect your organization from the onset, all right? And so those are all of our layers. So what is the point of it all? Point of it all is this. We need to be able to monitor these things that come in, right? So we need to be able to use something like Azure Monitor. We're monitoring our environment. We're getting logs and metrics. We're monitoring that data that's out there that is unusual, right? Azure Monitor has this interface where we can even import in third-party data. We can get it on a dashboard, Power BI. We can do some KPIs. We can do some KQL queries. Crystal query language is close to SQL, right? And we can do these queries and we can amass these types of alerts that's out there, right? And we can kind of bring some organization to it. And then we can implement something called Defender for Cloud. Defender for Cloud is going to look at our organization, our environment as a whole. It's going to give us something called a secure score, and then it's going to give us recommendations based off of that secure score. What do I need to do? I'll tell you this, the first thing that you need to do all the time is turn on MFA. That's like the first thing that you need to do, right? So turn on MFA and these different things, and your secure score is going to go up, and your environment is going to be continuously checked. Maybe you have some policy that you have established in Azure. You're going to be checking that as well. Maybe you've got some multi-cloud stuff, some AWS, GCP. We can connect to that as well. Okay. Then lastly, I didn't talk about the SOC, of course, but these are where our SOC analysts and all of that are going to hang out in Microsoft Sentinel. It's a SIEM and SOAR solution. SIEM meaning security, information, and event management. And SOAR meaning security, orchestration, automation, and response system. It's in one. So now we can go and hunt threats, see the potential threats that's out there. We can analyze our environments. We can set up logic apps to respond. We can help mitigate all these different things so we can detect and respond to threats. All right. So these are all of the layers that we have. Again, we have physical, we had identity, we had perimeter, we had network, we got compute, and then remember, data is the goal. So now the only thing I need to ask you, or I need to let you know, is you're probably wondering, so what do we do next, right? Here's some things. I'm going to drop these in the chat here when I open up for questions, right? But here's some things. Number one, you can go to Microsoft, learn.microsoft.com, and you can get an assessment on your organization, okay? You can examine the posture of your organization right now so you can figure out what security controls that you need to put into place, okay? We have something called the Microsoft Cybersecurity Reference Architectures, and it is this large PowerPoint that has all these different procedures and all these different things that you can actually take a look at so you can implement these security controls in your organization, right? You want to take a look at that, okay? And then you want to get certified, okay? You want to get the people in your organization certified, and you could do that with learn.microsoft.com. You can actually, if your organization is within Microsoft, if you're one of the organizations we can support, you can actually take a class. You can end up in my class. I would love to be able to teach you, right? So so like I said, I would love to be able to teach you. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open this up. We got about 13 minutes. I'm going to open this up to you all. Let me stop sharing my screen now, and you should, let's see. And now I should be able to see the chat here, right? And so I don't see any FAQs here, right? But in the webinar chat, in the Zoom, go ahead and ask me any questions that you may have. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to drop these links in the chat while you're asking your questions. Also, if you are a CISO, right? If you're a CISO, an IT manager, I'm going to drop this link in here. This is it's a workshop for CISOs, IT managers, directors. I can't stress to you the importance of being able to secure your environment. Okay, so let me grab these other links here, and I'm waiting for questions. And James, I don't know if you have anything particular that you do as well. If you just want to let them do it. I don't see anything in here in my chat as well, so I'm sure there's some kind of question somewhere. You don't see the links? Okay.
I just someone just posted a question in the chat. Let's see, from Ronnie. Do you see it?
Oh yeah, Ronnie. How do you ensure that your organization's cybersecurity measures are up to date and effective? Great question, Ronnie. So one of the things is I talked about Defender for Cloud, right? So there's other technologies. I'm only familiar with Microsoft technology because I work there, right? So we have something called Defender for Cloud. Defender for Cloud actually has its own database that, as things are released, obviously it can be implemented with, artificial intelligence and all this machine learning that's out there, and we'll be notified of those things, right? And in your organization, you'll have built-in built-in recommendations, right? And it's going to affect that secure score. So if you feel like your organization is up to date, and I'll tell you this, it doesn't score from 0 to 100%. I've not met a single organization that has implemented everything to have 100%. You're probably floating around like the 80 to 90% range, right? But if you log in and you see your stuff is dropped off, maybe there's a new security control. Maybe there was some kind of 0-day thing that was found out there recently that you can go back and you can implement those security controls. Another one of the things that you can do for your security controls as well is you can do a built-in policy, right? Yeah, Ronnie, that is based off of the license, right? E5 license, yes. So since I believe you have Microsoft, so yeah, look at your E5 license. Could be also because E5 might be the Microsoft 365. If you're in Azure, look at your Premium 1 or Premium 2 licensing and go to Defender for Cloud in your Azure portal. And you'll be able to see, you can not only just do Azure a Defender for Cloud, you can do Defender for SQL, you could do Defender for DevOps, you could do Defender for storage. It's kind of for storage. Yeah, it's kind of like a pick your own poison type thing, right? So you can turn all those different defenders on, and each one of them is going to give you a secure score, right? And so that's how we're loading that stuff in, as well as we're introducing new things. We're loading the stuff in, and you obviously, as a consumer, you have access to it because we definitely want you to have your organization protected. Microsoft Sentinel, I see you have Sentinel as a scene tool. Microsoft Sentinel from last year, I think they're probably like the #1 or #2 tool that's out there as far as cybersecurity. We spend billions and billions and billions of dollars to be able to protect our organizations. Why? Because, some people are partial to AWS, some people are partial to GCP. I get it, but Microsoft has the enterprises. If Microsoft has the enterprises, we got to spend a lot of money in protecting those larger enterprises. AWS and them might have more startups. That's why you see a lot of adoption with them. But there are a lot of our larger organizations who are going to stay with Microsoft because they're familiar with Active Directory, and they already have some things in there. They're familiar with the language and those types of things of Microsoft. So that's why we spend, that's one of the reasons why we spend so much money. Any more questions? What are the biggest challenges facing cybersecurity leaders today? Somebody said something very, very key, okay? And oftentimes people say we're losing the war to cybersecurity. We're not losing the war to cybersecurity. Cybersecurity and hackers, they're like fingernails, right? You cut your fingernails and what happens? They grow back, right? And you gotta cut them again and they grow back. So every time there's a new challenge out there, we have to be able to corral, to be able to use artificial intelligence, to be able to use our machine learning, to be able to scale back those nails of those cybersecurity threats, right? And being able to keep an eye on them. But there are all kinds, like even say for MFA, like I said, MFA, it prevents 99% of hacking from taking place. But guess what? If someone has access to your email, they can verify with MFA, right? You have some devices that can intercept push notifications and intercept texts and all those different things. So that's another challenge that we have to get by as well. But I think the biggest challenge in any organization right now, and it's always going to be people, fleshware. It's not the hardware. The hardware is good. It's not the software. You got some geniuses out there, right? It's the fleshware. It's those people in your organization who you need to be able to train. Jay Hoffman, generally speaking, how has Microsoft incorporated new technology and services to support zero trust architecture? MCRA, Microsoft. Matter of fact, let me do something here. I'm going to give you a link, a YouTube link to the MCRA, right? Microsoft Cybersecurity Reference Architecture, okay? This architecture is going to be, it's a bunch of PowerPoints. It's like 70 or something PowerPoints, but they're all, they go through everything step by step by step, right? And so, thank you very much, James, for posting that in there. So the MCRA is going to help you, okay? You have to follow the MCRA. You have to follow your cloud adoption. You know, those things, I think the cloud adoption framework, I think that's like 1,100 pages, right? So you're not gonna know all of it, but these are the things that you need to be able to do. You need to do your assessments, right? We posted a link about assessments in there. You got to look at your assessments. Your assessments are going to give you the documentation that is needed, okay? So one of the things I can say about Microsoft is we are really up to date on our documents. Oftentimes, even when I'm teaching, right? I'm teaching a class, oftentimes I will get an article that was literally published earlier that day or the day before because they continue adding on to it. The documents will not lead you astray. So please check out docs.microsoft.com for that as well. Ruben, do you foresee something like ChatGPT or another AI technology coming into play to replace the current security administrator? ChatGPT and other AI as well. You know, we hear these things about like responsible AI and things of that nature, right? I believe that it can happen. Obviously, anything can happen, right? But I believe that the role of the security administrator is going to change. And by that is utilizing ChatGPT as a co-pilot to help with these, right? But obviously, at the end of the day, if the security administrator is using ChatGPT to help protect the organization, you will have bad actors as well trying to use an AI-like technology like ChatGPT to do the same. So I think that what is going to happen is you're just going to have to utilize that as a tool. So the whole idea of the security administrator is going to change. Years ago, and you still meet people today, right, who do not want to go to the cloud. They want to remain on-prem, the network engineers, the system admins, right, because they feel like their job is in jeopardy by going to the cloud. Your job isn't in jeopardy. You have new stuff you need to learn to be able to implement. So maybe you're not going to have the blanket network engineer title. Maybe it's going to evolve into something else and you're still going to be able to do your job, but you're adding things on. So that's kind of like what I see with that AI technology is that with the implementation of that, you can have these things to help partner with you as well. Look up the ChatGPT though. There's some very great tools you can use for that. What solutions are you using for container security? Guess what? Defender for containers. We have Defender for containers at Microsoft as well, where we can be able to scan those containers and see those as well. And even if you have Azure Monitor, you can be able to monitor your containers as well. So yeah, we can use you can utilize that. Microsoft, we do have things like AKS, Azure Kubernetes, right? We have Azure Container Instances as well, ACI, and we can monitor those things as well. So yeah, again, in our Azure portal, we do have the ability to use that for containers, and that is across the board. Remember, you know, we kind of taking this approach now with Microsoft is, you know, it could be another cloud provider as well. We can be able to monitor that for you. And it looks like my time is up. It is 11:59 Eastern Standard, noon time. Some of y'all are going to lunch. I'm about to grab me something to eat. Oh, wait, one question. Cost efficient. How can you lab? Chris, couple things you can use to lab, okay? Well, first connect with me on LinkedIn. Y'all please connect with me on LinkedIn because I can give you more stuff, okay? Connect with me on LinkedIn. Go to robtalks.cloud If you want, to get something more personal, maybe you want me to be able to speak for you. But yeah, so for your labs, learn.microsoft.com. You'll have labs in there. You can sign up for different courses. SC200, you have a bunch of labs, SC200. GitHub has a lot of stuff, but connect with me on LinkedIn and I'll be able to give you all of that stuff. Yes, Ronnie, there's $200 in free credit for signing up for Azure. So you can have at it and you can do those free trials and stuff like that. It has been a pleasure. It has been an absolute pleasure to be able to speak with you all today. Find me on LinkedIn, connect with me. And I appreciate Blacks in Cybersecurity for giving me this opportunity. It is 12 p.m. and James, I am handing it back over to you. See y'all later.
Yeah, thank you again, Mr. McNair, just for giving us that amazing, amazing talk. I'm sure everyone in the chat enjoyed it, and we'll see. Hopefully we see you again next year.
Yep, thank you very much. Hopefully I do see y'all again next year. See y'all later.
Yep. Goodbye, everybody.